Hello, my friends. How are you today? Welcome back to another episode on a mother's journey to holistic health and healing. This is episode 27, and we are going to be talking all about anxiety. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Marissa. I am a mother of three. I am a holistic well-being coach and registered dietitian, and the host of this podcast. And also, I offer free guided meditations through YouTube. They are called Mindful Meditations with Marissa. So check that out if you enjoy short, brief guided meditations, whether you're new or have been practicing meditation for some time. Check it out there to help you feel a little bit more grounded, relaxed, more at peace, joy, and just to have a good positive day. So check those out. So today we're getting all into anxiety, right? And I think this is a topic that it's very important to me. I mean, not just only because I've experienced anxiety throughout my life, but pretty much, I feel like a lot of us moms do as well, and women in general, and pretty much the statistics even says that. So, I believe it's the National Institute for Mental Health. They have an estimated that 24.4 million people experience anxiety, and it's twice as common in women. And so, being that most of my work is around and with women and mothers, I get to see firsthand, and I've been working in this field for about 13 years now. I see and understand how much anxiety really has an impact on my clients, the people that I'm working with. And again, not just first-handedly myself speaking from personal experience, but just seeing it, how debilitating it can be on one's life, and just not letting it affects us all around as a whole, which is why we have to take a holistic approach to anxiety, to heal it, to help us cope with it mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It's not something you can just treat from a physical level. And really all these symptoms help us from the root cause as well to manage and cope with it. So I really wanted this episode to be about, how to overcome it, right? And how to get through it in episodes and, seeking out for help. So basically, we're going to get into, I feel like the more that you understand it, the better we are to navigate it, right? When we can understand it, when we can have education about it, when we can learn about it, we can take it into our hands and not feel as helpless or fearful of it and not let it control our life, which is what I want you to do. I want you to have the tools. I've gained tools. I want to share those with you, as well as the research evidence-based tools to help you figure out what helps you to manage your anxiety and heal it. And that way, with these tools, you're also able to help your children as well, because of course they suffer from anxiety as well too. So you'll also be equipped to help your children as well. So we're going to get into, what is anxiety? What are the causes? What are the symptoms? And some holistic approaches, some steps to help you heal and work through your anxiety. 10 ways that you can holistically heal and work through in your anxiety. And I promise you, over time, you will start to notice a difference. Okay. And but first, just a kind of a little background story. I share a little bit of my background story with anxiety. I first experienced anxiety attacks in my early 20s. And this is really when I was really heavy in bodybuilding and dieting and strict restrictive eating and measuring my food, weighing my food. Of course, I had no kids at the time, overtraining and exercise, not listening to my body, really just pushing myself, under eating, like that was all my main focus. And so when I would feel anxiety attacks, it was because it was either by a trigger of some kind of a stress. And these particular moments I was under stress. I used to work at a bank, and there used to be like these long lines, and I would just break out in a sudden sweat, right? Even just like meal prepping. It was a stressful time because I was spending so many hours meal prepping and weighing my food, and I was so tired, right? But I was still doing it anyway. And so the way I didn't realize it at the time, but I'd break out in these sweats. I would have difficulty breathing. I could feel my heart racing. And the only thing I needed to do was like, at first I would just kind of push through it because I didn't know exactly what was happening. But then I had to sit down because, that was the first thing that came to my mind, I guess, instinctively, right? Is to sit down. and write it out until it passes. And so after those kind of hit me a little bit more regularly, I talked to my doctor about it, and of course they recommended medication, and I can't remember exactly what I did next after that, but I think I just remember, like, okay, I just have to sit down every time this happens. Like, what's going on? What's wrong with me? And you know, once I started my healing journey, they just started to happen a little bit less, especially when I got into yoga, and which was in my 30s, and when I turned 30 actually. But when I became a mom, right? And I actually say when during my pregnancies, because I had pregnancy losses, that increases your anxiety levels, right? You have a lot of racing thoughts and fears and worries. And again, when you become a first time mom, the same thing. You have a lot of worries, you don't know what to do. You're navigating mom life, and that kind of amplified. So luckily at that time, thankfully, I had, some a bit of my yoga practice and a little bit of breathing and meditation in my tool belt. It wasn't strong. It wasn't as consistent. So it helped me a little bit, but it wasn't there fully because I wasn't practicing it on a regular basis as I feel like I am now. Excuse me. I'm a little under the weather with the cold and congestion over here. And, yeah, but then when I had my twins, the same thing. When I was pregnant with them, I had a lot of worries. And this time I had a lot more tools to help me manage my thoughts, to help me regulate my nervous system, to help me feel at ease, to give me comfort. And I'm telling you, it's what helped me get not only through the pregnancy, but also through the C-section and just throughout their birth and the whole thing, the whole up until now. They're going to be 2 years old next month. I can't believe it. And these practices, I swear by, I live by. And, and they're backed up by science too. So yeah, we're going to talk about why they work. And, so you can take this anxiety by the reins and not let it control you. And that's what I've been able to do. And as a result of significantly reducing my anxiety and putting these things into practice, I've manifested so many amazing things in my life. I have so much more energy. I feel like that after I got support and a lot of these things that I put into practice and boundaries and things like that, I have so much energy to focus on the things that I never knew that I wanted to do in life. Like, I have energy I have new hobbies. I love I love making candles. I created a YouTube channel and this podcast and my own coaching practice. So as you can see, anxiety has a very debilitating way of impacting your life, your energy, your mood, your focus, your relationships, your work. There's just so much things that it impacts: your sleep, your appetite, your GI system, your physical body, your mental health, emotional health, your spiritual connection. And we're not able to live our highest, best life, healthiest, best self when we're in this state of anxiety, majority of the time, right? In this fight or flight, freeze, fawn response. So it's really all about understanding it, learning these tools to help you navigate and work through it and regulate your nervous system. And as a mom, I mean, we need these tools because you never know what's going to happen in your day, right? Oh my gosh, motherhood is so unpredictable. It's crazy. But yeah, so let's get into it. Let's start by just defining the simple definition of anxiety, right? So if you look up anxiety, I mean, you're going to get probably different types of, definitions. But one of the ones that just came out simply is just, it's an emotion characterized by feelings of tension, worried thoughts, and physical changes in your body. So, maybe you're also feeling worry, fear, apprehension, and it can be persistent, it can come on suddenly, and it can really impact and interfere with our daily life and our quality of life, right? And there's also different kinds of anxiety. So I'm not going to get into that today, but we're just going to be pretty much just general and talk about the symptoms and what we can do to work through it. So yeah, it's just pretty much an emotional state of feeling unease, worry, fear, but we know it's much more than that, right? I mean, there's more to it than just that. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get into some of the symptoms, right? So when we think about, or I should say, actually, let's take a step back before we head to the symptoms. Let's talk about the causes of anxiety, right? And we can get triggered emotionally. This anxiety can be triggered so many ways. So one of the things that I talk a lot with my clients is that we want to understand, we want to get familiar and identify your triggers, the things that kind of hit that little, switch to you feeling triggered to anxiety. Most of the times it comes from a mind, it's something mental, but also sometimes it can be something physical, maybe from a trauma, or just in motherhood. But oftentimes it stems from, anxiety, like from our thoughts, sorry, like we're having racing thoughts about our to-do list, or maybe something at work that we're worried about, or something in your health and your family's health, or just whatever kind of worries or fears. Like for me, I had a lot around my children's, their pregnancies. So I was always anxious around that. Or, when my husband was working really late hours and I was here alone with my kids, all three of them, it was really overwhelming for me because I was helping my son with his homework. I was prepping dinner. I was trying to manage the girls. Like it was just a lot, right? And that's when I would get triggered. So when you can kind of get an idea of your triggers, you can also better communicate that for support from your partner or from maybe your loved ones, and really kind of just figure out a strategy and a plan, which is what I help my clients with, right? And they're creating their anxiety self-care toolkit, right? So I would say that kind of like your step one before we get into the strategies is kind of to become more self-aware and identify those triggers. What are the triggers that are coming to you mentally? What are those thoughts that are not helping you to feel, that you're feeling more worry, more unease, more fear, right? And yeah, and then we're just kind of working from there, is peeling the layers to understanding how anxiety impacts you on a whole person level, right? Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And so really number step one is just kind of becoming more self-aware to identify your triggers. Number two, the symptoms, right? What are the symptoms that show up for you? Because they could be different for each individual. Like I mentioned, some of the most common ones is rapid heart rate, breaking out in sweats. Sometimes it's some GI issues, like you might feel nauseous, you might feel you have to go to the bathroom, right? Maybe some diarrhea. There could be headaches, or it could be tension in your upper body, your neck, your shoulders, your hips. I mean, you could experience tension, I'm sure, anywhere. You could have trouble sleeping, insomnia, restlessness. You could have rapid heart rate. You could have an increase in your blood pressure, difficulty breathing, feeling like you can't breathe. And those are some of the most common ones. But maybe you can think about for yourself, what are some of the symptoms that you experience when you're feeling anxious, right? Do you feel like kind of on edge, or like you need to be doing something? Do you turn to food when you have anxiety? Do you turn to alcohol? Is there like an outlet, something that you try to look for to help you seek comfort to manage the anxiety, right? To ease it. What are those things that you're doing as a result of the anxiety? Because this is where it really also impacts our daily life as well. Yeah, so those are some of the common symptoms. And, keep in mind again that there's different types of anxiety, right? There's like postpartum anxiety, like there's the major depressive anxiety disorder, like there's all different kinds of anxiety. So if you really feel like, you're putting in some of these practices pretty consistently over time and you're just like, they're still not helping, talk to your doctor, or maybe don't even wait for that long and talk to your doctor, because sometimes we do need the aid of Western medicine and mental health and medication combined with these, which could be even more powerful for you. So, don't see it as a sign of weakness if you need to take medication. Even if you feel like you don't want to take medication, sometimes it could be what's going to help you to shift out of this fight or flight, to help you think clearly, and then put these practices into regular, consistent daily practice. Yeah. So that's something that I've noticed, is that some of my clients who are on anxiety medication, it helps them because when they feel a bit more calmer, they're able to have more focus, more energy to put in some of these practices that we're going to talk about, which makes sense, right? Because you have more energy to do that. You're in a state of a calmer mind. So, yeah, if you're noticing that, these anxiety attacks are happening more often, or you just feel like you're always on edge all the time, every day, most days of your life, that you're always in fight and flight, feeling irritable, or just Always on edge, always feel like you need to control something, just don't like yourself, and you feel like you haven't been like that for a long time, talk to your doctor about it. Talk to your trusted professional healthcare physician. Okay, so yeah, so let's get into the steps, right? Let's get right into it. Let's talk about these holistic strategies to heal anxiety and why they work. So I'm going to start, and this is no in particular order. I'm just going to state them as I wrote them out and how they've really helped me too, right? The first one is breath, right? Breathing, deep breathing, breath work calms the nervous system, right? Because it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is like our rest kind of calm mode, and it helps slow down our heart rate and lowering our cortisol levels, which is like those stress hormones, right? So the studies show that even just with box breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, which is deep breathing, like for example, breathing in for 4, holding it for a count of 4, and releasing it for 4, can help us really shift out of that anxiety fight or flight mode. So it really helps to calm the nervous system, okay? And this is something that you can do when you're in that moment feeling really anxious. I do this all the time, and my son's always like, Mom, are you okay? But he kind of already knows because this is what I teach him. So, that first one is just practicing breathing. And I know it takes some time to develop, but once you do, you make it a habit, your body is going to already know what to do when you're in that fight or flight mode. Okay. So, it's simple. You don't have to get into, because there's all different kinds of breathing techniques. Just stick with what's simple for now by just maybe placing your hand on your belly or on your chest and taking slow inhales and slow exhales. Okay. If it helps you to focus on the count, inhaling for 4, holding it for 4, and exhaling for 4, try that to kind of help distract your mind onto that. So the first one is breath work. The second one is practicing mindfulness and meditation. This helps us rewire the brain to feeling more calm, right? It helps us, why it works, because it helps us stay in that present moment instead of spiraling into like future worries. It can help strengthen the prefrontal cortex, which is like responsible for our rational thinking. And it can reduce like the amygdala, the part of the brain that centers around fear. So the research shows that over time, it can help us be less reactive and more resilient to stress over time. So even just 5 minutes a day, right? This is how we can incorporate into our day, moms, is 5 minutes a day. When I start my day in the morning, I wake up a little bit earlier, I put on a guided meditation, or I just kind of put my hand on my heart and do like heart breathing and just, thank God for another life. And I just kind of just feel my chest rise, and I do that for a few minutes, right? And it doesn't have to be long and effective. So if you're new to meditation, and you don't have to be sitting for hours, cross-legged all the time in an uncomfortable position, you can have support from your bed, from your chair. You can have a guided meditation, like I said. So if you're new to meditation, the guided ones are very helpful. Or even just listening to music and just zoning out to the music that makes you feel calm and relaxed. So figure out what that playlist is for you. Maybe create a little playlist of the music and the guided meditations of the people's voices who you find soothing, the music that they use, that it's soothing to you. Because if it's kind of annoying, and you're not like, their voice is annoying to you, or the music, it's not resonating with you, it's not going to work, right? So kind of maybe put together a playlist of certain guided meditations on YouTube or music to help you bring you back to the present moment, and just to kind of this meditation practice. And again, this is like something that you wouldn't maybe do necessarily when you're in an anxiety, like fight or flight moment, but just to do through your day to day to help you build this resilience to stress, okay, and how to manage it. So it's kind of like one of these preventative things. Number 3 is movement, gentle movement, okay, which is releasing this stored tension and stress in our body, right? So it helps increase, why it works is it helps increase endorphins, right? These natural mood boosters, reduces the cortisol, the stress hormone, and releases this stored tension that we have in our body, whether it's in your hips, in your neck, in your shoulders, right? And anywhere in your body, in your face, smiling, even doing a self-massage. This is something, it's not considered movement, but even doing a gentle self-massage around your shoulders, your neck, or stretches, right? walking, yoga. I mean, these are all wonderful forms of movement that the research shows helps to reduce anxiety by improving our brain function and lowering the inflammation. So if you're feeling anxious, like at work or at home, you have all the kids and the weather permits you, right? Get out for a walk with them. Or when you're at work, get out for a quick 5-minute stretch break and walk. Even dancing, right? Like that's something I do with my kids. If like the energy is kind of on edge and everybody's crying and anxious and worrying and whining, I put on some music that they all like and that shifts the energy, right? And regulates their mood. So yeah, so movement, gentle movement and self-massage and stretching. That's really going to be helpful for you to practice on a regular basis. Okay. And again, all of these things from 1 to 10, maybe you choose 1 or 2 to practice. Okay. And if that 2 seems overwhelming, then just choose 1 and start small. Okay. Gradually. This is what I help my clients do. Number 4, other ways to regulate our nervous system, right? And so this is going to restore safety in the body, right? So here's why it works. Chronic anxiety often results from a dysregulated nervous system. This is when you're in this flight or fight response mode. Your heart rate's racing, you can't breathe, you have racing thoughts. So having some techniques that are quick to help you feel grounded is going to help you shift out of this. So this can be things like humming, this could be the deep inhalations, this could be even just getting like some cold water and splashing it on your face. This is what they call cold exposure to the vagus nerve. And just bringing this cold water to your face. I don't know if you've ever seen on Instagram, if you follow like anxiety healing profiles, I talk a lot about cold exposure in the vagus nerve. Okay. Or even tapping certain areas of your body or self-soothing, like maybe, I know it sounds silly, but even like giving yourself a hug or like gentle touch, okay, can really help with this nervous system regulation. This is something that I work on my patients with and my clients with, is this energy healing, which kind of ties into this. And yeah, so those might be some of the things that you might want to try. So I guess moving into that, number 6, energy healing and spiritual connection. So energy healing is something that I also do. I forgot to mention that I'm also an energy healer. And the reasons why I got into it is because of this anxiety, as a matter of fact. So anxiety can often stem from energetic imbalances, right? Which could either result from like our day-to-day life, right? Maybe you're not feeling like this connection, this spiritual connection. You're like, what's my purpose? Like you're feeling lost and you just don't feel connected to life. Your mood, your energy feels kind of dim and low, right? Energy healing, this is something that I do distance wise with my clients and in person. And, it helps you to bring a sense of calm and peace. So it's here to help you promote, reduce your stress and anxiety by promoting relaxation and restoring balance in your body's energy systems. So there's still, research emerging, but there are some studies that suggest that energy healing can help with all of that. And there's different types of energy healing. There's, Reiki, and there is like the tapping can be one of them. Pretty much what we're doing is just use this universal life force energy that you can't see, right? But we feel like it's there. It's a connection. It's why I trust it so much, is because I've seen the power in it. And we're just basically using this energy over the person's body, their energy systems, what we call our energy systems, like your crown chakra, your third eye, your throat, and so forth. And we are just helping the body to restore these energy systems, which helps relieve the quote unquote blocks so that your energy moves freely throughout your body. Okay. So I won't get too much into that. You can check out the podcast on, I don't know what episode it is, but it's the power of energy healing and spiritual connection. So really, maybe you don't feel as connected spiritually to the higher powers, or you maybe you've lost touch with nature. You're not in nature that much, or you just feel like maybe gratitude, like practicing gratitude can be very helpful when it comes to this spiritual connection, and just prayer, right? Praying to whomever higher power. This is something I've definitely put into practice the past 2 years, and was the missing puzzle to my anxiety healing. And prayer and really just using my own energy healing on myself energy healing, which is what I teach my clients to do as well. And getting things like incense or sage to set a prayer, for example, whether it's to the universe, to creator, the spirit, God, Mother Mary, Jesus, whomever, right? And smudging the area of my workspace, my home, my body, to really just clear any negative energy. And this always helps and this always works. Okay. Essential oils, right? Things like that to kind of shift you out of that mode. So these are things that we don't just do when we're in the moment of anxiety. We do them more regularly to help us work through it, if that makes sense. Okay. So I just want to make that clear. These are things to put into practice. So what was that? Number 5? Okay. Number 6, journaling and reframing our negative thoughts. Okay. So yeah. So writing down why this works, writing down our anxious thoughts, right? We could makes them a little bit less overwhelming. And so by seeing them on paper, we could also challenge them. We could also shift them into a different thought. So when we look at it or we recognize our thoughts, we could ask, is this 100% true? Or saying something to yourself that's going to support you. Like, for example, a lot of times when I'm in this fight or flight mode and anxious, I might say, I can't handle this. This is too hard. I can't do this. I just go into this spiral, right? And so instead, I take a step back. I do my breathing. I validate my emotions and how I'm feeling. And I say, okay, I can do this. Let me first calm down. Let me take some water. Let me take some deep breaths. It's going to be okay. You're going to get through this. We'll get through this, right? And so I always tell myself something comforting. So tell yourself something when you're in a moment of difficult, high stress and feeling anxious. Tell yourself something comforting that you would tell your close friend, okay? Or your sister, whomever, someone you really care about. And you can even journal on some of that if that helps you too, okay? So I'm telling you, these really do work, okay? Number 7, validating your emotions and experiencing this emotion. So the research shows that by naming the emotion and validating it, it reduces the intensity of it through this process of validating your emotions, because it can help us move out of it. So number 1, we want to validate the emotion. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling overwhelmed, whatever it is for you, right? Okay, it makes sense for me to feel this way because I'm out here alone with my kids. Like I don't have any help right now. Validating it. And then with some deep breaths, take some deep breaths. And then, okay, what would make me feel better right now? Do I need to go outside? Something that brings you peace and joy. Do I turn on the music? Do I drink some water? Do I eat some fruit? Do I cuddle with my kids? Do I call someone? Like, think about what it is that could bring you some peace, okay? So number 7 is boundaries, right? And saying no. Oh my gosh. When I started putting this into practice, my anxiety significantly went down. Okay. Like I said, I started talking to my husband about it and my mom, my mother-in-law, and they've just really helped support me. So many moms, we experience anxiety from overcommitting or just not like, we just neglect our own needs and we don't prioritize our own self-care. And so putting boundaries into place really helps protect our energy and prevents burnout. Okay. And, the research shows in psychology that people who set healthy boundaries have low levels of stress and anxiety and better emotional well-being. So, start small. Like I said, it might be declining extra responsibility at work that doesn't make you feel good. That's not going to contribute to your emotional, like your mental well-being. Okay. Or maybe you've got like a to-do list of things you want to do at home. Don't feel like a failure if you don't get all them done. Maybe just do like one, or not. Even if you're like, okay, I washed the laundry and put it in the dryer, and you still feel like you have to fold it, just leave it in the dryer. Do it the next day, right? So don't put all that pressure on yourself also to do it all, okay? That's where this comes in, is putting these boundaries. Give yourself a limit. Okay, I'm going to do this, this, and that's it, right? Or I'm going to work from this time to this time, and that's it. I'm going to take a break during my lunch to go for a walk. Like, put these boundaries. And sometimes we need help from, like, for example, a coach like myself to really enforce this, because our brain is so wired to being productive, to getting it done and thinking we don't need breaks. Okay. So number 8, Your nutrition, okay, your nutrition does matter. So it plays a role in also balancing our mood, right? So if we have a poor diet, this can lead to inflammation. If you're skipping meals, low energy, not being able to focus and think clearly, to make your anxiety worse. And the studies show that there's a strong link between gut health and mental health. And taking probiotics or eating yogurts, omega 3s, can really help with those anxiety symptoms. Having fruits, eating a daily recommended serving of fruits and leafy greens, right, can help us just feel better energetically. Okay. And drinking lots of water, of course. And then I don't know if this is number 9 or 10. I think it's number 9. Yeah. Getting rest and sleep. Okay. So when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling like on edge and you're just moving nonstop, just continuing on to do that and not honor your body, like your body's sending your messages, right? So what you can do is just sit down and take a quick rest, or maybe go to sleep a little bit earlier, because the science shows that sleep deprivation increases our cortisol, right? And makes us more reactive to stress. Prioritizing our sleep improves our emotional regulation. So create a bedtime routine where there's less screen time, less caffeine throughout your day, to give your body some time to adjust and rest, okay? By getting adequate sleep, at least 7 to 9 hours. I know that's hard for us as moms, or naps and resting when you can will pretty much, it will help ease those symptoms and reduce the stress, okay, that you're feeling. And the last thing is just community and support. Maybe you talk to your doctor, maybe you join a support group, or you talk to your friends, maybe, I guess, like I said, talk to your loved ones, to really just open up about how you're feeling. Because again, that the worst thing is feeling alone and like you have nobody to help you and give you support. And when you open up, you can process your emotions, you can talk to how you're feeling, and yeah, this will just help you relieve some of that anxiety when you get support and you have help. I promise you that is going to be extremely helpful. Okay. So, yeah, each of these strategies can work in different ways, right? And again, it's over time. So, it's going to help you to calm your nervous system, rewire your thought patterns, balance your energy, help you reduce that overwhelm. So that way, over time, like you have this bigger capacity, you have this tool belt, this toolkit to help you. Okay. And I know that it can feel overwhelming and that tension in your body, but I just want you to remember it's not who you are, and it's just something you experience. And more importantly, it's something that you can heal. Okay, so thank you so much for listening today, friends. I hope you found this helpful. Maybe you need to go and hit pause and re-listen to it. And also, I really appreciate it if you can leave a review or share it with someone in need who could use it. And check out my new YouTube channel, Mindful Meditations with Marissa, to help you get started on your meditation journey. And yeah, I appreciate you being here. And I have some exciting news coming up, as well as some new programs I'm putting together. And I'll share those with you in the near future. But until then, take good care of yourselves, and I'll catch you on the next one.